Hello, and welcome back to my Kansas City Royals series here on Out of the Park Baseball. A little bit of a different episode here. You can see that we are in the mid-season of 2021, and that is because I accidentally deleted the video file for the last episode. So this episode going to be a bit of a two-parter. First, I'll catch you up on what went on last offseason, which, spoiler alert, wasn't a whole lot. And then we'll just get right into the first-year player draft. So last season, we finished the year at 67 and 95, which technically was better than previous years, but not really where you want to finish. So it's nice to see that this year we are 29 and 28 to begin the year. If anyone's interested in what happened in terms of the playoffs last year, the Mets beat the Houston Astros. So it was the first year that it wasn't the Dodgers versus the Astros in this series. Nice to see a team like the Mets win it. We only won one award. It was Paul Goldschmidt, who won a Gold Glove, kind of fittingly. But in terms of our players, not a whole lot that you're going to like in the starting rotation, unfortunately. Blake Snell kind of back to his old ways. Last year, he had a really good second half, finished the year with a 3.7 ERA. His strikeouts were up, his walks were down. Really thought we were getting somewhere with him. And then this year, right back to the old habits. You can see an ERA of 5, and the strikeouts are down as well. Dause Chua, he is pitching well. You can see his rookie year, he was terrible. Last year was better, but that's kind of relative. And then this year, he's pitching pretty well, although I don't really know how long he can keep this up because 36 strikeouts in 50 innings to go along with 20 walks, that's not really what you want to see. But I guess we'll just see if he can keep it up. Eric Skoglund, who always seems to find his way onto the Major League roster, is now our number 3 starter, which might be a little bit scary, but he is holding his own so far with a 4.33 ERA. Castillo, I don't even really want to talk about Castillo. It's just depressing. He is just falling apart. The ratings are still there to an extent, but the movement has just fallen down. And I mean, he's just had an ERA of 5 in Kansas City. I don't really know what happened to him, but it sometimes happens with pitchers, so it is what it is. Frank Garces is our number 5 starter. We just picked him up off of waivers because we have some injuries in the rotation. We take a look at the disabled list. You can see Jake Arrieta on the DL. He was pitching really well. You can see a 2.32 ERA, although the BABIP, if I remember, was just ridiculously low. Yeah, 195. So I don't think he's going to keep that up, but certainly the strikeout to walk ratio is pretty good. So I'm hoping that he can at least be favorable when he comes back. And Cody Reed, of course, also out with a strained abdominal muscle. In the bullpen, pretty self-explanatory. Richard Lovelady doing really well. I don't really remember where we got him, but he has been very good for us for a number of years. Bobby Pointer, he's back to his old strikeout ways, so that is good to see for sure. And Ian Gabot just having a terrible season. A lot of the rest of our bullpen just not doing well. I did call up Kenan Shanowski, and unfortunately, this is some bad news. He is now fragile. He was normal. His control ratings have gotten much worse, so now, unfortunately, kind of looking like a bullpen arm, which is what I was a little bit worried about. He was rated as the number 1 prospect in all of baseball to begin the year, but he is no longer even close to that, so again, pitchers, you never know, and I think I kind of knew Shanowski was definitely a bit of a risk, but I liked that he was 22. I really liked that movement rating, and so took a bit of a gamble, and it does not seem to have paid off, but who knows? We shall see. Offensively, I was very proud of finding Kappa Zoo. So he was someone who was an international free agent, signed him for really low money. You can see about $4.6 million. It's going to be over 4 years. Definitely going to pick up that team option if he continues playing like this because, wow, 19 home runs. He's on pace for 54, hitting .315, already a 3-win player so far this year. So my goodness, I do not think it's going to continue, but if he can play half as good as he's been playing now, that is a real steal. Otherwise, offensively, we just made a trade for Justin Williams. I think we probably gave up a little bit too much for him, but I'm trying to consolidate our assets into really some better players. So we got rid of Khalil Lee, who's someone that could really be, I think, a decent major league player, but I don't really know that he would be more than that. Good speed, decent defense, some good power, but he was just really not putting it together at the major leagues. And I know he's only, 22, about to be 23, but I mean, he was really not putting it together. So I kind of wanted someone on the roster, especially now that we're about a 500 team, who was going to give us some value. And that's really going to be Justin Williams. I really like his contact. He had been playing really well for the Rays. Fortunately, has completely tanked for the Royals, but hasn't played much so far. Other guys that we gave up in this trade was Josh Ockamy, who I did like the looks of to an extent. He was just tearing it up in AAA, but he had never really been challenged, to major league level pitching. And quite frankly, we just have so many first basemen that was someone I was pretty willing to give up. We also gave up Jacob Barnes, who, is a kind of middle of the road, relief pitcher. At least, that's what he's been the last 3 years. I think the ratings show that he could be better, but he just hasn't been. And it's been a long time that he's had a chance to prove himself. So, again, someone else who could end up being good, but I was okay to get rid of. And then Carlos Benoit is really nothing. But just to let you guys know, that is who Justin Williams is. Otherwise, Reese McGuire having a much better year. I like that on-base percentage at .370. And, of course, he's a pretty good defensive catcher, so that is nice to see. Rowdy Tellez getting his first full year in Major League action. Again, like I said, we have a lot of first basemen, so kind of freeing up that space, now allowing Rowdy Tellez to get a chance to hit. Nick Madrigal hitting .247, but, at the very least, he's an above-average player, even though his offense has been really bad. But I just take a look at those ratings. He should be much better than this, so still really hoping that he will turn it around. Vinny Toasty, we called him up. So he was a first-round pick way back in 2018. I really like this left field defense. The speed isn't something that Alex Gordon had, but otherwise kind of reminds me of Alex Gordon. Only 21 years old, on pace for a 3-win season in just 77 games, and that's purely the defense and the speed. I mean, he's not really hitting that great, so really excited about Vinny Toasty, especially if he can get his bat together. Michael Gigliotti, having an okay season. There's really nothing else to say about that. Goldschmidt, definitely a down year, though. So, like I said, he had a spectacular year for us last year, hitting .313, really got our money's worth out of him, a 5.5 win season. Now kind of on pace to be a little bit below average. I think he's going to turn it around. I mean, you look at these numbers that he has, the ratings are definitely still there. And, if not, he can still run and play some good defense. So, He'll never be terrible for us. This contract, it's still got basically 2.5 years left now. I doubt we're going to pick up that team option. But even if he kind of collapses, it's not a complete disaster. And that's what I like about short contracts. Even if they're a little bit more expensive, you don't really get burned quite as badly if they go south. So anyway, that's most of our team, I think. Maybe good to just take a look at the disabled list. Nicky Lopez still on the DL. I mean, he's never really been spectacular for us, but it'll be good to get him back at second base for sure. And Mickey Moniak, who's that guy we picked up in the Rule 5 draft, has not really played well, but anyway, he's got a strained hamstring, so he's out for a couple of weeks as well. So I kind of talked about this in the last episode that ended up getting deleted, but I am really liking some of our prospects. So even if the Major League team has been a little bit underwhelming the last couple of years, some of these guys like Jorge Corona really seem to be coming along. Again, he's only 17, so maybe that's kind of a bad example. But Zermano, he's someone that was actually just a scouting discovery. He looks like a beast. So I'm really excited if he can, get moving in the minor leagues over the next couple seasons. Whitney El Amin, another guy who is looking pretty darn good. So some good batters that are kind of waiting in the wings, which is really nice to see. Even some people like Colton Bowman, they may not look as good as they first did, but, at age 20, he's really starting to pick things up. I would like to see that control develop a little bit more. But, ground ball pitcher has got some good ratings. He could definitely be maybe a number 3 guy in the future. It's always good to have people like that. Some other people like Lucas Krull, I don't know if you guys even remember him, but that was another guy we kind of took a chance on. A lot of the other starters, I kind of noticed control is becoming an issue. So I think in the drafts that are coming up in the future, I might look at control as kind of a more important stat, at least for the pitchers as far as they go. All right, but that's the update on our team. Let's go to the first-year player draft. Excitingly, we have the 3rd overall pick for the 3rd straight year. So that's nice to see. I did take a look at some of the players, though. I'm not really liking kind of what I'm seeing. A lot of these guys like Ben Lekusik, the head scout really likes them, but then the OSA ratings are really not thinking of him too highly. And there are certainly people who are intriguing, like this Ian Buchholz, really fast, some really good contact and avoid K ratings, but this is not like a third overall pick type of guy. This is something you pick like in the third round because he has intriguing ratings. And I'm not really seeing that kind of number 3 overall type of player. Under the pitchers was kind of where I really saw some intriguing guys. So this Mark Owen looked good, but again, the OSA ratings are just not really the same. And plus, I don't really like the velocity being around 89 to 91 miles an hour. For an 18-year-old, he should probably be throwing faster than that. Ethan Wood, another guy who looks great, and the OSA is not quite as high on him, especially that control, which I'm kind of paying more attention to now, which makes me really think about Mike Hobbs. So unfortunately, the control not really there, but I do like the stuff, and the OSA ratings are more high on him, which I kind of like to see. He does throw 98 miles an hour, and again, 21, I just generally think that older pitchers are kind of more surefire things. You're kind of more likely to get a decent player out of someone who is older. This Jorge Arculeta, is kind of a similar story. Although again, he's not a number 3 overall pick, type of material. I just don't think by looking at the ratings. And that's kind of what I'm running into. I don't really know who to grab because no one jumps out at me. This seems like kind of a bad draft class, at least for the really top guys. It seems to be a deep class, but not really a great class right at the top. Like even the number 2 guy, Greg Harris, he looks good, but he's not really great. He was the number 2 overall pick. Same with this like Brendan Blakes. Again, he's fine, but so I don't know. I think with the starting pitchers, Blake Hobbs is the one that I like the most, but it's kind of tough for me to like skip over someone like Mark Owen, who just looks like a beast in so many ways. Especially with that extreme ground ball. I like his personality ratings. I'm just worried I'm going to get burned because the OSA ratings are so different than the head scout. And of course, he's a high school pitcher, so do with that what you will as well. All right, so here's my thinking. I do really like the looks of Mike Hobbs, but he was in fair competition level, and while his stats were good, they're not necessarily outstanding. And in addition, like I like the ratings, and the OSA ratings are kind of right there with it. He seems to be a pretty good pitcher, but he just doesn't really seem like a really standout guy. Mark Owen is someone who I think could be really, really good. That 75 grade control, still really good stuff and good movement. If some of that doesn't quite live up to what it is, he'd still be a pretty good pitcher. He's got 3 really solid pitches, good stamina. I always like his personality, constantly trying to find ways to improve his game. He was absolutely lights out, and I know it's high school, but that strikeout, especially strikeout to walk ratio, is really darn impressive. And he is a durable player. I also think it's good that he's seeking a really big bonus demand because that generally seems to say that he's pretty good as well. And, to boot, he's a lefty, so I think I'm going to go with Mark Owen, actually. I was really thinking about Mike Hobbs, but something about Mark Owen just thinks, if he pans out, he could be really, really good. So I'm going to go with Mark Owen for the 3rd overall pick. All right, so for the 2nd round, really no pitchers seem to be available. I mean, these guys just look bad, man. They look really bad. Among the hitters, this Blaze Jordan looks pretty good. 70 grade power potential. The OSA ratings aren't quite as high on him, but I do like the fly ball hitter, batted ball profile with that home run power. But the thing about a first baseman is like they better hit. Otherwise, they're not really worth it. That's why someone like Ben Lukasek really looks pretty good to me. And we do have some money to spend. So I don't know. I might end up going with someone like him. That Ian Buchholz also on the board, although I think I'd go with him for like a 3rd round pick, I think. I don't know. I don't really see anyone in later rounds that I would want to jump on, and we've got like 10 million left, so I think I'm going to go with this Ben Lukasek, even though he's an impossible signing. I think if you have to throw more money at people this year, but if you really know how much money to throw at them, you can be pretty sure you're going to get them. So I'm going to go with Lukasek. And then I do think for this 3rd round, I am going to go with Ian Buchholz. He just seems like an interesting player. The power never really going to be there, but he is durable. I do like his personality, and that speed with the contact and avoid K ratings is just too much, I think, to give up. I mean, that looks really cool. Plus, I do like his infield ratings. You can see his range is 75. The error in arm, not too great, but I could see him playing second base as well. And, at least at the major league level, we don't have a ton of second basemen. So let's go with Ian Buchholz. I think he could be versatile at the very least. Otherwise, though, I don't really know who to go with. This Joel Jones looks pretty good, actually, but he is fragile. Wow. Oh, the OSA really likes him. Is he an impossible signing, or what is wrong with him? Yeah, he is impossible, so I don't really think we're going to be able to sign him, unfortunately. I don't know. Let me see if there are any relievers or something. Yeah, no one here, really. I think I might just let my scouting director do the rest. This just seems like kind of a lame draft, to be honest. Wow, so this game just gave me a heart attack. I saw an email, injury sideline Zoo for the season. And of course, I thought it was our Kappa Zoo, who has been hitting unbelievable still. He's got 26 home runs. And no, it was the Dodgers Hui Ying Zoo. So that is a bullet dodged. In terms of our draft picks, so I was probably a little bit too confident that I could sign Lukasek. Turns out that he was asking for over $9 million, but that's kind of okay with me. We will get a new second-round pick because we didn't sign him, and quite frankly, I think the players next year are going to be better than what we could have gotten had we not drafted Lukasek. So anyway, that is not that disappointing to me, but we did sign our other draft picks. All right, so we have simmed ahead a little bit. Sorry if you can hear a lawnmower in the background. My neighbor is mowing the lawn. But we are here at the international free agent signing. So two guys that I kind of had my eye on. First is this Luis Luna, who is demanding the full $5 million that we can offer to international free agents. You can see some really good power numbers for Luna, but the OSA rating's not quite as high on him. I do like his personality, but a little bit injury prone maybe down the line, who knows. So I think I might go with this Luis Cardenas. Obviously, the discipline, not really there, but I do like the durability. And the OSA ratings are different, but they are good. So this guy just seems like he has a really good bat. Unfortunately, his defense is kind of nowhere to be found. So, he could be a decent outfielder maybe with that arm. But anyway, I do think that we are going to sign him, and we'll offer him that maximum $5 million because I don't really see anyone else that I would be interested in. All right, so we'll submit that and see if he likes it. All right, so we're going to do a bit of a trade here. Mickey Moniak just came off the DL, if you remember. Actually, you don't remember. This was a Rule 5 pick that we got in the last episode that, of course, I accidentally deleted. He's been kind of sitting on the DL, but he's got some pretty good ratings, and I figured we might get something for him. I think that we want to stick with Giglotti as our center fielder. He's having a pretty good year. I do like his ratings, and at the very least, I think one of these guys could be moved, and I do like this deal with the Miami Marlins. You can see they'd be giving up Kevin Rose, which is a closing pitcher prospect. Obviously he's not going to be a starter, but he does have some good stamina, and I think the stuff and movement mostly there. He just needs to do a little bit of developing, but I think he could be a solid relief pitcher in the major leagues for sure. And the other guy we get in this deal is Edward Cabrera, and even though he is listed as a reliever, 55 stamina, he's got 3 decent pitches, okay stuff, movement and control. That stuff has the potential to get a little bit better. Of course, he throws 98 miles an hour as well, so I could totally see him in the starting rotation. So I do think that I am going to do this deal. Again, I think it just kind of plays to both of our strengths. The Marlins could use a center fielder, I guess. I mean, they do have Brian Miller. And otherwise, we could definitely use some starting pitcher depth for sure. So we're going to complete this trade, no question. All right, so Edward Cabrera will be in the starting rotation, so I guess we'll just see how he does. All right, so we're here at the All-Star game. Unfortunately, falling a little bit. We are now 47-47. Let's just take a look quickly at the standings. So you can see we're 12.5 games out of the division. No surprise there. But out of the wild card, we're actually only 2.5 games back of that second spot. So we are, I'm not going to say in the thick of things, but if things went well in the second half, we could make a push for the postseason, which would be amazing. Oh, I would love to be in the postseason. But anyway, we have some All-Star game news. It was Ozzy Albies who was the MVP of the All-Star game. I'm sure that will happen sometime soon. He has been really good this year in real life. But anyway, if we take a look at the All-Star rosters, I bet we probably had a couple of people. Well, actually, never mind. We do have two people. So Kapazu, he's definitely fallen off a little bit, still hitting 287, has 29 home runs. I mean, that's certainly more than we could have ever asked from him. And then in addition, Justin Williams, who I don't think has really figured it out in Kansas City, although he's playing okay at least. All right, so we're here on July 28th. I've been looking for a deal, whether it's buying or selling. You can see we're 48 and 51, which is worse than where we were before, but we're still 3.5 games out of that wild card spot. So I'd like to really make a push here, but I'm just not finding anything. Unfortunately, I think we could really use a pitcher. And who knows how good Edward Cabrera is going to be, but even his ratings have kind of fallen since the trade, so not really feeling too optimistic there, but we're going to just have to stick with what we have. I don't really know that we have enough. I think offensively we're actually pretty good now, but it's just we need that ace arm, and we've never really had that in this series. But we don't have the money to pick up a big contract, and no one's really going to trade a young pitching prospect for what prospects we have, and I don't really want to give up prospects for something like that because, frankly, we're not really that in the thick of it. Even though we're just 3.5 games back, there's a lot of teams that are 3.5 games back. So I think we're just going to keep developing. It's a nice kind of side effect that we're doing pretty well this year. It's kind of what I was hoping for, is that if we had a good year, we'd be around 500 and could make a push for it. So it's more exciting than it's been in previous years. We'll come back either in September or in the off season, depending on how things go. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.